Hi Aquarius and Aquarius Rising, here is your horoscope for October 2025. I'm Astrologer Joseph Anthony. All right, we're winding down the year, and this month we are definitely looking at things pertaining to your future, maybe some travel, understanding things at a very large level, like the big picture items. This is because the Sun and Mercury are both going through the ninth house. This is a time to have fun. This is a time to, look at the world in a lighter side. And so for many of you who are a rising sign in Aquarius or have a sun sign in Aquarius, this is a general sun sign reading using Western tropical astrology, using the whole house systems, where we equal out all the houses and we put the sign that we want to understand or find out what the trends are, put it on the first house here, and then we see where all the planets align for that month. Again, it'll still be about 70 to 75% accurate, but your own birth chart will be much more accurate because it has the time and the place and so on. And if you don't have a time of birth, we still use the sun chart as a reference point on that day you were born. But anyway, it's a very general overview. But what I'm seeing here is quite a few things pertaining to career, as well as Mars is in the 10th house. And I'm sure, towards the end of September going into this month, you've had some issues with work or being overworked or, a lot of changes happening at work. And so the second half of the month, the Sun and Mercury will be making its way into the 10th house of your status and your work and your responsibilities. So the energy is absolutely going to shift. The dynamics are absolutely going to shift there. Now, Venus is going through the 8th house, so it should be pretty good with money matters, things pertaining to your job, especially since you also have Jupiter going through Cancer. So this is a pretty good time for many of you in that regard, or that, in that aspect, in that those alignments are making it favorable. All right. Your ruler has just gone retrograde. So there's a lot of revisiting of the past because it's in the 5th house. So maybe you're feeling a little bit more nostalgic. And so we also have Neptune that's going to go back into the 2nd house for the last time in our lifetime, and I will talk about that later. But we start off the month with Mercury entering Scorpio on the 6th. There it is right there. So it leaves friendly, relationship-oriented Libra and now goes into intense, driven Scorpio. So our minds become more aware, they become more intuitive. They're curious about everything. They're more focused on financial matters as well, because Scorpio and Taurus are both the signs that rule money. And so here we see, between Mars and Mercury lining up in this 10th house, it's a lot of conversations at work. It's a lot of responsibility. Maybe you're dealing with somebody that's, overwhelming you. Maybe you have a lot going on. But Mercury going through here the next 3 weeks is going to have you focusing on your responsibilities. Okay, so again, depending on your actual birth chart, but there's going to be a lot of them. And it could be also some issues with the family dynamics as well. In other words, handling responsibilities for holidays or birthdays or something along those lines. That's what I'm seeing here. Okay, so but trust your spidey senses because they will be very strong when Mercury's going through Scorpio. Now, around the same time, the full moon also takes hold, and it's in the 3rd house of communication. And so this is going to be at 14 degrees of Aries, wherever that is in your birth chart. And so there's lots of communication, or there's lots to talk about or express. This could have something to do with travel as well, because the 3rd and the 9th house both represent travel. You might find yourself taking a sudden trip. But there's a lot of intense energy in the first week of October. So I got to warn you about that. And having the full moon, in Aries in the 3rd house could have you a little hot under the collar and, maybe a temper or two, or feeling uncomfortable, or feeling a little irritated. So be careful of conversations that lead to uncomfortable conversations that lead into some discomfort or yelling or arguing or something along those lines. So be very aware that the first week of October is a restless week. Now, when we get to the 13th and 14th, Venus enters one of our home signs, and this is Libra, and there she is right there. So Libra is about balance, it's about fairness, it's about relationships. Venus is all about that. Venus also represents money and values, what we value, what you believe in, your own self-worth, stuff like that. But Venus in Libra is very social. and wants partnerships, wants to interact. So this month you do have a lot of socializing on your plate, especially with Venus here. We also have a new moon that's going to light up this ninth house, and I'll talk about that shortly. But Venus in Libra for the next 4 weeks, going through the ninth house, absolutely has travel, having more fun, being more playful, more charming, thinking about other people, just wanting to be around other people. You're one of the signs that is very social or can be very social. And with this alignment here, it absolutely shows me that the need for socializing will definitely improve or be highlighted. Any type of relationship, whether it's business, pleasure, or going to a church or a mosque or a synagogue or whatever it is, you might find yourself just wanting to be around other people and socialize. And the reason I pointed out the religious institutions is because the ninth house has to do with religions. It has to do with the philosophical beliefs of religion and and what you believe in. So that's why I brought that up. So, but this should be a good time for many of you as Venus makes its way through Libra. Around the same time, Pluto goes direct in your sign, right there, in your first house of identity and self. Now, here it is in stationary position before it moves direct. And having Pluto going direct is much more beneficial than having it go retrograde, which means going within. And so now that it's going direct, over the next 4 months or so, you find yourself going through another transformation. You find yourself, all right, I need to change. What's the next thing I need to do? Do I need to change my appearance, how others see me? Because the first house pertains to all of that. But it's more deeper than that. It's psychological. It's more meaningful. It's more powerful. How do you fit into the community? What am I here to experience? You see, you're going to be asking all those deep, profound questions as you continue to become this butterfly, this caterpillar that's morphing into a butterfly, you see? And so this is going to be very important in the next 4 months or so. So, but also on the positive side, Pluto going direct will bring you more power or more powerful people, and people come to you more for advice or counseling or see you as somebody respected and a powerful figure that is there to help in some way. So this is absolutely part of the equation here with Pluto going direct. Now let's talk about that new moon in Libra, which is going to happen on the 20th and 21st. It'll be right here at 28 degrees of Libra in the ninth house. So this is again highlighting everything pertaining to the same thing with Venus in Libra. It's a 2-week cycle of relationships, travel, exploration, laughter, understanding, wanting to explore, wanting to, not take life so seriously. And so this could be about relationships of all kinds. Maybe you meet somebody new and he's like your best bud and you're pals and you're laughing and you're smiling and so on and so forth. It could be business or pleasure. It doesn't matter. Libra just wants relationships. So this is going to be the dynamic here, especially with Venus, very close in the same house. So I would say enjoy yourself. Enjoy the next 2 weeks of this energy that's coming in for you. And, you may be at times questioning your current relationships and where it's going, because that is a possibility with the ninth house. So I see it a little bit more positive. There are some adjustments, absolutely, but I still see it as a positive. Now, Neptune goes retrograde in Pisces on the 22nd, right there in the last degree of Pisces. Now, this is the last time Neptune will be in Pisces in our lifetime, because the next time it'll return is 165 years from now, which basically no one here listening to me now will be around. So, but it's at the last degree. Every time a planet is at the last degree, it's very significant. It's a turning point. And so what that means is it's giving us one last look at this area of your chart. The second house is values, belief systems. It has to do with your material side of life. It's in Pisces, how you give, how you earn your money, how you value yourself and others. And so you already have Saturn in there and the North Node. So you're learning a lot about yourself and the financial picture in your life. How you give your energy to make your income, how your investments work, okay? And so it's giving you go within. Basically, retrograde just means going within and reviewing the past. And so with this one also retrograde, these two more retrograde is you're going to consider jobs from the past. You're going to consider investments from the past. You're going to consider things that you did before they're going to keep coming to mind with Neptune retrograde for the last time. Now, it won't go past 29 degrees. It'll stay at 29 degrees and it'll move forward again. But these two, Saturn and Neptune, are going to leave Pisces for good and enter that third house again of communication in 2026. So it's going to be a very important year for communication of all kinds when that happens. Now, the sun enters Scorpio on the 22nd and 23rd, right there at the high point of your chart. Now, look at all that Scorpio energy in that 10th house. So once again, we are looking at all kinds of things related to your career, your responsibilities, things pertaining to investments, things pertaining to the well-being, psychological well-being of others. Let's just say you're someone who has a company or basically manages people. You're responsible for their well-being, or maybe you're responsible for their income or stuff like that. This is being highlighted right there. So for the next 30 days, you are front and center. You're getting a lot more attention. The higher-ups really appreciate what you're doing. And so you're getting, this power move, in a sense, that's coming your way. And finally, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius on the 29th, right here in the 11th house. This amps up the energy even more in terms of socializing, being around other people, communities, friendships, and being very sharp and quick-witted, because Mercury in Sagittarius is very quick to speak its mind. So you'll find yourself really, again, continuing this conversation and just speaking to anyone that wants to listen. And this is a big month for that, okay? So do the best you can. Anyway, if you want to know more, I do an extended version of this in my Inner Circle community, as you can see here. I also do the weekly astrology overview, which the members really do enjoy. And of course, every Sunday we are on a Zoom call talking about current events. Some members send me their charts. I answer a few questions for them, and we interact. And we do have a good time, and there's a lot said, and we talk about everything and anything. So consider joining. I left the link down below. There's a free 7-day trial. And so I hope to see you in the community. All right, have a great month. Bye for now.